too. My stomach dropped, and I spent the rest of the night hyper-aware of every car sound outside. I kept looking out the window at his parents' house next door like I was 15 again, waiting for him to come over. Saturday, I barely left my room because I was terrified I'd run into him getting mail or taking out trash. Sunday morning, I woke up early and made myself coffee in the kitchen. I looked out the window and froze because Leo was sitting on his front steps. He was just sitting there in a hoodie and jeans staring at nothing. When he looked up and saw me through the window, our eyes met and I couldn't move. He looked different somehow. More solid and real than he'd been on our video calls. Like he'd grown into himself in the months we'd been apart. I stood there holding my coffee mug trying to decide what to do, and then he raised his hand in this small wave. Before I could think about it, I grabbed my jacket and went outside. We ended up talking for 4 hours on his front steps like we used to when we were kids. At first it was awkward, both of us being too polite and careful with our words. Then he told me about his therapy sessions, and I forgot to be nervous. He said his therapist had helped him realize he'd been afraid to want things for himself because he thought needing me made him weak. He'd spent so many years being the person who took care of me that he'd forgotten how to let himself need anything. I told him about my pottery class and the art markets and how scared I'd been that building a life without him meant I didn't love him anymore. I admitted I'd pushed him away because I was terrified of becoming Becca, of being the person who made him give up his dreams. He said he understood that now, that we'd both been so afraid of the wrong things that we'd run from the right ones. We talked about our jobs and our friends and all the things we'd done in the past 6 months. It felt like being best friends again. That easy, comfortable way we used to talk before everything got complicated. But it also felt different because we weren't pretending anymore. We weren't trying to force something or hide from something. We were just Leo and Julia figuring out who we'd become. Leo pulled out his phone and showed me a job offer he'd gotten in my city. It was with a really good engineering firm working on projects he actually cared about. He said he'd interviewed for it a month ago, without telling me because he needed to know he was making the choice for himself. He was taking the position regardless of what happened with us because it was what he wanted for his career, not because of me. Something shifted in my chest when he said that. For the first time since we were 5 years old, Leo had made a choice that was truly his own. He wasn't following me or staying close or sacrificing anything. He was building his life and I just happened to be in the same city. I asked him what this meant for us and he said he didn't know, but maybe we could figure it out. He said he wanted to try again, but differently this time, without all the fear and guilt and history weighing us down. I realized I wanted that too. I wanted to see who we could be when we were both whole people choosing each other instead of needing each other. We agreed to start over slowly when Leo moved to my city in January. We'd date like normal people instead of assuming our 16 years of history meant we could skip steps. Our first official date was at this coffee shop near my apartment that I'd been to 100 times but never with him. Leo showed up with flowers, which was so formal and weird that we both laughed. We ordered drinks and sat at a tiny table by the window, and it was awkward in the best way. We were trying to be romantic but kept falling into best friend mode, then catching ourselves and trying again. He told me about his new job, and I told him about a design project I was excited about. When he walked me home, he kissed me goodnight at my door, and it felt completely different from that first desperate kiss in my apartment. This one was intentional and careful and less scared, like we both knew what we were doing this time. The next 6 months were hard work. We had to learn how to be a couple while also